Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Nasdaq Spotlight live in Orlando, Florida at the Microsoft Ignite Conference. I'm your host, Anna Gonzalez. We're continuing our conversations today with Rob Juncker, who's the SVP of Research and Development at Code42. Rob, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Anna.
So tell us a little bit about Code42.
You bet. Code42 is a data security company, and we're focused on securing the ideas of our customers today. And today we're securing about 50,000 organizations worldwide, and we're installed over 2 million endpoints. And we really do protect them by doing three things very well. The first is protecting their ideas, and essentially that means we're looking at every file, every version, and storing and indexing that information for them. So if ransomware ever were to hit, we're able to recover their ideas without any kind of delay for them. The second part of what we do is allow them to actually investigate security breaches very fast. Through our file forensics technologies, as well as our file exfiltration technologies, we're able to know when files are leaving people's endpoints, making sure that they're safe in transit, and at the same time giving them total visibility to their files wherever they might be in their ideas, wherever they might be, whether it be their endpoints, the cloud, or anywhere in the middle as well. And then finally, the most important thing, especially with the security world we live in today, is ensuring when actually there's alerts or problems with that they can then take action upon that. Through our integrations with SIM technologies as well as orchestration and workflow engines, people can ensure that any threats are actually remediated in their environment. And in today's world, with the constant and increases in terms of the number of threats as well as the persistence of those threats and the complexity, it's more important now than ever that we deliver solutions like ours to the market to ensure that organizations can quickly take visibility of their ideas and remediate threats to them, especially in a world where IT groups as well as security groups are really limited in the time that they have to focus on these kind of activities.
And I love that you're saying that you're protecting ideas.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because there's, I've heard it said in a few different ways today and yesterday, but ideas is a whole other, I feel like that speaks to your culture.
It does, it really does. And when you think about it, I mean, in today's world, I believe that everybody is beautiful. They come up with their ideas that really propel their businesses forward. And if we look at the economy recently, we've really moved beyond this retail economy, where if you're trying to increase the size of your business, you do one more transaction. Nowadays, it's not about the next transaction. It's how do you innovate in your business and create the ideas that propel your business forward at huge growth rates so you can continue to excel in the marketplace. So in that perspective, we like to understand what the important intellectual property is for our customers and make sure that we protect that information so that it never could be destroyed, or even worse yet, ransomware or stolen by one of their competitors, which would obviously adversely affect their shareholder value as well.
Right. And so what brings you to the conference this week?
You know, there's a lot of things to love about Microsoft Ignite, the least of which is, you know, the energy that this conference brings.
Absolutely.
But what's super exciting about Microsoft and Code42 in general is that we share many of the same philosophies. We all believe that the digital transformation is occurring, and we see that here with all of the conversations that are happening around Microsoft. And at the same time, too, we share many of the same beliefs that Microsoft has around how the market's evolving and the steps that need to get there, specifically focusing around security as well as productivity of the users that are out there. Now, when you consider that, a lot of the initiatives Microsoft has in terms of moving more individuals to Windows 10, Code42 shares in that mission of enabling people to receive laptops. And as they receive their laptops, because we've indexed and stored all of their ideas, we're able to move those ideas from their previous device and migrate them onto a brand new Windows 10 device, ensuring that they've got the most secure operating system. Now, at the same time, we've heard about the digital transformation. Hopefully everyone's getting on board with this at this point. And we're seeing the ideas essentially move from endpoints that were individual-based to the cloud, where there's more collaboration through tools like Microsoft OneDrive. And we've been really focused on ensuring that as ideas move, they're secure, they're indexed, and ensuring that they can be investigated in the case of any issues that actually arise.
Right, because we need to provide visibility into what's actually happening in these spaces.
That's right. And in fact, we have a data exposure report that we run at Code42 where we profile our 50,000 organizations, understanding that more. And what we've heard is that 80% of CIOs all agree that you can't secure the information that you don't know where it is.
Right.
I mean, it's one of those basic tenets, right? You can't secure what you can't see. So it's great having the technologies that we bring to the market to give them that visibility and as well as the thought to know where their key ideas are.
So 50,000 organizations that you just mentioned. So you're talking to so many different customers and clients. What are some overall trends that you're seeing in the industry at large right now?
Right, so the overall trend that we're seeing right now, first of all, is really the focus around security. And that's largely driven by how much the market has changed around security. You know, if you think about it, ideas used to be at rest. If you and I were having this conversation right now, I might be sitting with a laptop in front of me and we might be looking at a file together. Nowadays, though, the way in which we collaborate, we're using our mobile devices, we're using our laptops, we're using sharing tools that allow you and I to collaborate on the same file at the same time. And while that's fantastic and it's increasing productivity, it forces us to re-examine how the digital transformation is happening and what steps are we taking to secure that. So more and more we're hearing people focus around things like insider threat, ransomware, malware attacks that are happening out there, data exfiltration that's happening in environments today. And it makes a lot of sense because the users are now the most vulnerable thing in the process, right? We still, as much as we try, can't get users to not click on the thing that says cat with pancake on its head, right? That ends up containing malware.
I know. I'm way too familiar with that, right?
Hopefully you've never done that yourself, right?
It only happened once, but I learned my lesson, taken plenty of security classes since then.
But yeah, I mean, those are the trends we're seeing, is the focus on the user data. We're seeing the focus on user security. And, you know, for me, seeing this market change so much so fast, right? It's really redefining the governance practices, the policies that we have, and how CIOs and CISOs are working together to secure the information that exists in all of our networks and users today.
And your passion for this is so clear. And when you think about what's coming 2 to 5 years down the road, what most excites you about what's going on?
You know, I love how fast everything's changing. And I tell you a little story. When I was growing up, I was actually a hacker. And I mean a real hacker. I should have called prison and made reservations for myself, right? So as I begin taking a look at how much this has evolved and the speed at which it's evolving at this point, what's exciting for me is that the future's not written. We're all sitting around here on the floor today asking ourselves, what are the key technologies and how are we changing the process by which people are actually managing information? And how are users today able to maintain their productivity without security and IT going in there with policies that limit their freedom to dream, right? What I'm excited about as we go forward is I expect us to see more of the digital transformation take hold. I see a lot of new security technologies that candidly might not even be born today that are coming in. Things like lattice cryptography and other technologies in the security landscape are really redefining how we think about security in the future. And, you know, at the end of this, I expect that more and more of the ideas that we have that we're capturing in digital format are going to need to be protected and managed. And the scary part is, too, is that again, referring back to the data exposure report, there's a fascinating number that I believe it was 64% of CSOs that we went out and polled believed that they were going to be breached in their environment in the next 12 months. And more importantly, 61% of them admitted that they had been breached in the last 18 months. So not only do we have to think about how do we secure these ideas, we've got to think about this being the post-breach era, where it's not only about prevention, but when something does happen, how do you recover from that in a way that doesn't impact shareholder value? And that's what's exciting to me in this industry right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rob, let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to talk a little bit more lighter questions, rapid fire. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What app can you absolutely not live without?
Ooh, Calm. If you've seen Calm, it's great. It gets my mind kind of relaxed, and at the same time, some of the meditation allows me to kind of ease back into my day at certain points.
Right, because it is nonstop.
It
right?
is nonstop.
What would you say is the coolest technology you have in the office?
We actually use Philips Hue light bulbs in our office, and we actually change the color of the light bulbs based upon our build technology. So when we actually have builds that are working, the light bulbs are green. And when we have a build that breaks in our office today, we turn the light bulbs red. So it's a visual indicator, and it's, if you will, the smart home invading the workforce.
That is so smart, and we're hearing a lot of trends with different people that we're talking to about how you need those visual reminders and to help with transparency and collaboration and communication. That's such a smart tactic. So what do you like to do when you're not working?
Gosh, you know, for me, it's always about reading and research. I love hearing about kind of the history of the world and how history, candidly, has a tendency to repeat itself in cybersecurity and the way in which we're doing technology. So for me, I tend to retreat to the History Channel as well as some really good articles and books around security and trends that are happening out here.
Do you have any favorite podcasts or sources for those articles that you're going to read?
I actually don't. It's really a smattering, and at the same time, speaking of technologies, I love some of the technologies that go out there and figure out what I like to read and rate them, and then pull them back together for me around some of that as well. So
right,
I have a
great
tendency to
productivity hack.
It is. So I have a tendency to actually not follow individuals, but more follow trends. So the latest breaches, cybersecurity, and candidly.
Yeah, that's a good one. So Rob, as we wrap up here, what advice do you have for people who are watching this and thinking, one day I want to get into that industry?
I would just say this, is security right now is a great industry to get into because candidly it's changing so fast that some of the knowledge that we have is typically helped by bringing a diverse talent, diverse workforce in to challenge some of the basic assumptions that we've made in our industry. The second thing about security, and you talk about the industry that we're in specifically around data security, is that as this industry moves forward, people have to realize it takes time to get up to speed with the technologies that we're using, and it takes a while for organizations to hop on board with those technologies and take the technologies, if you will, that they're so used to on-premise to the cloud. So having patience as well as excitement for what's going on is kind of the keys I would tell people with that are interested in getting into this industry.
Well, those are good words to wrap up on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Anna. I appreciate it.
And thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for more conversations from right here at the Microsoft Ignite Conference.